Attention passionate Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Pittsburgh Steelers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's get to the news now, folks. Today we've got some crucial updates coming out of the Steelers camp that could have a real impact on their season. You know how unpredictable the NFL can be, and right now, the Steelers are navigating some key injury concerns that could influence their chances of making a deep playoff run. The focus today is on their young, promising wide receiver Calvin Austin III, who's been turning heads since he entered the league last year. But as things stand, a shoulder injury has thrown a bit of a wrench into his season, raising questions about his availability and what it means for the team moving forward. So just 2 days ago, during a practice session or a game, Calvin Austin suffered a hard fall on his shoulder after making a catch. Initially, everyone was concerned because he immediately went down and was seen with his arm in a sling. But here's the interesting part. Just a couple of days later, there's a bit of a hopeful sign, because Austin was not seen in a sling during recent sightings. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean he's fully recovered or out of the woods, but it's definitely a positive development that he's not immobilized in the way we initially thought. It's worth noting that his injury was serious enough to warrant a trip to the hospital for evaluation, which, let's be honest, can be pretty nerve-wracking for any team, especially for a young player trying to establish himself. Head coach Mike Tomlin mentioned after the game that Austin was at the hospital being evaluated, so there's a cautious optimism about his condition. Now, what does this mean for his season? Well, unfortunately, reports suggest that Austin is still expected to miss a significant amount of time. That's a tough pill to swallow, especially considering how much potential he showed during his breakout season last year. Remember, Austin was a fourth-round pick out of Memphis in the 2022 NFL Draft, and he made an immediate impact, racking up over 500 receiving yards. His speed, agility, and ability to make plays after the catch made him a key part of the Steelers' offense, especially as a deep threat and a reliable target for quarterback Kenny Pickett. But this isn't just about one player. The Steelers, as we all know, are built on depth and resilience. With Austin potentially sidelined, the coaching staff will have to rely more heavily on other receivers like George Pickens or even rookies stepping into bigger roles. It's a challenge, yes, but it could also be an opportunity for players like Scotty Miller, who stepped into the lineup when Austin went down. Miller, with his experience and versatility, has been working hard to carve out a bigger role, and now he might get that chance to show what he can do against some of the league's toughest defenses. And let's not forget about Roman Wilson and others fighting for playing time. The Steelers have a roster that's always been about finding those hidden gems and making the most of their opportunities. If Austin's injury lingers, it could be a real test of the team's depth and the coaching staff's ability to adapt mid-season. It's a storyline that Steelers fans should be paying close attention to, especially because wide receiver injuries can sometimes define a season. Just look at past years when key injuries derailed playoff pushes. Now, to give you a bit more context, Calvin Austin III was a player who really caught the eye last year. Despite being a rookie, he showed flashes of being a game changer, especially with his speed and ability to stretch defenses. His stats may not have been eye-popping, but the way he opened up the field for the Steelers' offense was promising. And for a team that's been rebuilding their offensive identity with Kenny Pickett at quarterback, having that reliable deep threat is crucial. Looking at the bigger picture, the Steelers are currently considered underdogs to win the AFC, with betting odds around plus 2,500 on BetRivers. That might seem like a long shot to some, but Pittsburgh has always been about grit and resilience. The team's defense, anchored by players like T.J. Watt, remains one of the league's best, and the offensive line has shown steady improvement. The question now is how injuries, particularly to key skill players like Austin, will influence their ability to compete at the highest level. In terms of the season outlook, if Austin is forced to miss more time, It's a big blow, no doubt. But the Steelers have a history of overcoming adversity. Coach Tomlin, known for his leadership and ability to rally teams in tough spots, will likely emphasize the next man-up mentality. This is where the depth of their roster really comes into play. Players like Miller, Wilson, and others will need to step up, make their plays, and help keep the offense moving forward. Their success could be the difference between a playoff appearance and an early exit. And I think it's important to highlight that the Steelers are in a window where they're trying to capitalize on the prime years of their core players. Kenny Pickett is still developing, but he's shown flashes of brilliance, and with a solid supporting cast, he can take a leap this season. The coaching staff, led by Mike Tomlin, has always been about adapting and finding solutions, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some creative plays and new formations to compensate for Austin's absence. Now, let's talk a little about the division. The AFC North is always fiercely competitive, with teams like the Bengals, Ravens, and Browns all vying for supremacy. A key injury like this to a young receiver can ripple through the division's landscape, especially if it affects the Steelers' offensive explosiveness. But on the flip side, it's also an opportunity for other players to step into the spotlight and prove they belong at the next level. Sometimes, adversity breeds opportunity, and that's exactly what the Steelers are facing right now. Looking ahead, the Steelers' next few games will be critical. They need to stay healthy, keep their momentum, and find ways to execute efficiently on offense despite the setbacks. The fans, of course, are always hungry for wins, and the energy in Heinz Field is unmatched. With the team's defensive backbone and a now slightly reshuffled offensive lineup, every game will be a test of their resilience and depth. And if Austin is able to recover sooner rather than later, that will be a massive boost for everyone involved. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to emphasize how much these injury updates matter in the grand scheme of things. The NFL is a league where depth and adaptability are everything. The Steelers are no strangers to overcoming obstacles, and their coaching staff has a track record of turning challenges into opportunities. Whether it's Miller stepping up, Wilson making a splash, or other young players elevating their game, the coming weeks will be crucial. The good news for Steelers fans is that this team has always been about resilience, and with their strong defense and disciplined approach, they can still be a formidable force this season. And now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on Calvin Austin II's injury? Do you believe the team has enough talent to overcome this setback? Who do you think will step up the most in his absence? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news. We're in this together, and the passion of Steelers Nation is what makes this team special. Thanks for being here, and as always, keep the faith, because the season is far from over and every game counts.